And then she asked me some more questions in Russian, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Russian. She says, whoops, you have to go sit.
Louder.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the American thing. No, she just sits. So then she tells me to go sit, and I sit, and then another woman comes in a more fancy uniform, and then she asks me some questions in Russian, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Russian. And then she leaves, and after 20 minutes, a man comes in an even more fancy uniform, and he asks some questions in Russian. I'm like, it's been 20 minutes and I didn't learn Russian yet. And then after like 30 minutes, this woman in a super fancy like uniform with like a military hat and everything. And I mean, she was like military. No machine gun. And she comes to me and she just goes, follow me. So I follow her into
There was no negotiation at this stage.
Yeah, and I follow her into this little room, right? This little like interrogation room. And there's a man sitting there in blue jeans and a white t-shirt. And then she sits down, and I guess she's only the interpreter. And the entire conversation was like this man wants to know. She never said who this man was. She only refers to him as this man. So she's like, this man wants to know why, blah, 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 blah. She's like, okay. Then he says something. He's like, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, this man wants to know. And she always said, this man. And I was like, who is this man in blue jeans and t-shirt? And then after like 20 minutes of questions, and they were normal questions, there was nothing too great. Like, are you married? Why are you traveling? Who do you know? Nothing crazy though. And then he's like this. He's like, and mind you, my bus is waiting for me for 2 hours crossing the border from Mongolia. I thought the bus left actually. I thought I was stuck at this border. And I'm sitting, and he's sitting like this.
What can we do?
No. He goes, finally, he's like, okay, go.
Hey, what's up everybody, it's T for TeePolgar, and today's Talking Couch episode is just super random. Daniel, could you say a few words? And guys, you're going to figure out rather quickly why he's super valuable, why he's a gold for this project. So Daniel.
Okay,
what's up?
I'm Daniel from Indiana, from the United States, and I guess 4 years ago, on November 1st, 2013, I sold everything I owned, and I went to Argentina and just started backpacking around the world. I've actually been going very slowly because I spend a few months almost in every country now.
Cool, but Daniel, if I remember right, and we are pretending that I've never heard this story before, but how much time did it take from the moment you figured out that, fuck it, this is a dream you gotta fulfill, you gotta chase, and the moment you actually did something, then actually you told your boss that, hey, I'm quitting?
Yeah, well, I remember the day that I gave my boss my notice, but the full story is, when I was 24, I was working in a hotel as a night manager, and there was a illegal immigrant guy from Peru. And I was chatting with him, and he's the guy actually who gave me the idea, because he said, I was talking, because he had this difficult trip through South America, through Latin America, across the Mexican border, and now he's working illegal. He's living in this little apartment with like 6 Peruvian guys, and he's eating like ramen noodles. And his salary wasn't so bad. He was the head mechanic of the hotel. All right. And so it wasn't like a cheap job. And I said, then I found out he had a family back in Peru. And I said, what are you doing? And he says, well, Daniel, I don't come here to live. I work for 6 years. That's my plan. 6 years, I save every penny. That's why I live in this little room with 6 guys. That's why I eat ramen noodles.
The dirt and shit, right?
Yeah, but he says after 6 years, I go back to Peru and I live the rest of my life like a king. And and I was working at a hotel, like not very prestigious job. Right. And I was thinking, why can't I work for 6 years, save every penny, and I can go to Peru and live like a king too? and he was telling me, he was telling me stories like, yeah, Daniel, you can get a huge apartment with a swimming pool and a doorman. He's like, Lima's very nice. Go to cafes every day. And I was like, wow, I want to do this. So I started saving money at 24. Although I graduated, you probably know, but in America, the university is very expensive.
Exactly.
So I graduated university with like $136,000 in debt, being crushed by it, and I'm working at like a hotel. So that's one reason that dream seemed, because I felt like I can never get out of this debt. So I started saving money to actually run away to Peru. So
So you accumulated $136,000
Yeah.
as that because of college.
Because of
or
university, yeah.
sorry. And then back in the days you were working for the city or?
No, this is before the city.
okay.
I was working at a hotel, living with my parents. And then I got a job in New York City, worked for the city of New York. And actually I got a good salary. So I expanded my idea. I was not going to run away to Peru, because actually I was going to run away from this debt. Instead, I was able to pay the debt, keep saving, and go on the trip. And my idea was I would work in New York for 5 years, save my money, and then go. But what happened was it was a good job, it was a good life, and I really wish I hated my job because it'd been easy to quit. So I kept telling myself 6 more months, like I could use some more money, so I'll stay for 6 more months. And then 6 more months come and I get a little bit nervous, and I actually had the letter written from my boss, but I don't give it to him. And I'm like, Daniel, 6 more months. And I wait 6 more months, and that went on for almost 5 years of just 6 months at a time saying it's better to go in spring.
Was it the fear or just the mindset of a good little saver that dominated every 6 months when you made the decision, all right, I'll keep hanging on to this job?
It was a few things. It was a fear that I would never have a job this good again. I loved my boss, I loved my job, I loved what I did, and I really didn't deserve it because I kind of fell into it by accident. So it was one of those really lucky situations where I just kind of landed this job by accident. And so I thought, what's the chance that'll happen again? Because if I quit, maybe I don't get that opportunity again. So I was really worried about that. And also I had a good life. I was able to buy anything I wanted. I was living in Manhattan. You can go to the bars. I go with my friends. Had good friends. It was an amazing lifestyle. But I'd had this dream almost forever, but really since my 20s, where I wanted to one time go around the world. And I thought, and I was doing couch surfing, so I have all these travelers who are doing it. And I thought, Daniel, if you end up that you're 50 or 60 years old and you've never done it, and you're meeting travelers that did it, you're going to regret that so much. You're going to be like,
they're going to talk to
every
you.
time you meet one, you're going to be like, that could have been me. And instead, I just stayed in New York to be safe. So one day, I had to pull the trigger. I was like, because I'm like, I can't stay forever. I can't do 6 months forever. And that would be the easy thing to do. So yeah, I pulled the trigger.
Awesome. You were talking about, so could you talk a little bit of the stress factor, how your body got impacted?
Yeah, so the moment, the weeks and months leading up to when I finally chose a date, like a hard date that I knew I was going to give my notice, it really got stressful for me. Am I making the right decision? For example, maybe I leave and I go to South America, and after a month, I'm like, this is all I needed was 1 month, and I just burned all my bridges. So I didn't even know this was possible, but I found out later it was. I started losing hair from stress. But
so it wasn't at the time when you were just procrastinating 6 months.
No, it was when I had a hard date. Like
okay.
I left on November 1st, so it was probably 3 or 4 months before that I knew I was going to leave on November 1st, and those months before, when I knew I was going to actually give the letter, because I think before I would say 6 more months before it got to that point.
Right.
But this time it was really coming. Like I'd really chosen it, and I lost these weird circle patches, like lost hair in my beard, a big circle. It was actually a friend who pointed out to me. He's like, "Why do you have this big bald spot like on your back of your head?" I was like, "What? Am I going bald?" But it was not in the bald spot. It was like on the side, on the back, and then I was losing spots here and here. It was strange, and I was grinding my teeth at night.
Because of the stress
of the decision. Yeah, it's like I saw a path of like two Daniels, one who stays in New York and one who goes traveling, and I just couldn't decide which one is the better option, and it was really stressing me out. And also a little bit maybe like, do you really have enough money? Is everyone going to think you're crazy? Like, because I hadn't told my family yet, I hadn't told my boss yet. My friends kind of always known. My friends always knew that. But
at some point you were going.
But my friends didn't believe me because I was always like, 6 more months, 6 more months. So like, Daniel's never going to go. It's like, he's been talking about this for 5 years. So Daniel's never going to go. And then I finally did it. And I was grinding my teeth at night before that decision. I cracked a tooth open. And finally I pulled the trigger, and when I finally quit and finally got on plane. I went to Argentina. The hair grew back immediately. The stress went away, and I realized, just walking around Buenos Aires, going to a little cafe, and there's these old men sipping their, with their little fedora hats, and they're like rumpled old little suits. And I'm there with my book writing. I thought, this is the right decision. I was like, this is the life I wanted. It was a beautiful city. I made friends so fast there. I was taking Spanish lessons. I had told you it was always my dream to learn a second language, and now I was doing it, and it was the right decision, and it's been the right decision.
Sweet. But looking at you, now you have your facial hair all back.
Yes.
What happened? How did you get it back?
It just grew back when the stress was done.
Oh, okay. Immediately you...
Within weeks. Yeah.
Insane how the body is responding to stress. And
I did a lot of research on stress because of that situation, because I actually... I didn't believe that maybe was the cause. I was worried maybe it was something else.
Okay.
So I started reading about stress, and stress can mess up your body. Like, I'm lucky, given how much stress that was, I'm lucky that's all that happened,
Okay. How long have you been on the road, Daniel?
So it'll be...
You said
it's been 4 years.
November, but...
Yeah.
okay,
So this November coming, it'll be... 4 years? It'll be 5 years coming this November. Yeah, so over 4 years.
Word. So where have you been?
Yeah, so I started in Argentina, and I stayed there for 8 months to learn Spanish. And I was doing my visa runs to Uruguay every 90 days. And
so you had to do like 2 visa runs, right?
Yeah, at least. Although I probably did more, just because I went to Uruguay for a month also, because I actually, in Argentina, I was taking private lessons with a teacher, and then I went to Uruguay for a month at a school, like an intensive language school. It was cheaper there. And then once I had a basic understanding of Spanish, I just kind of backpacked Argentina to Chile to Bolivia to Peru to Ecuador to Colombia. Then I did 3 months in the Amazon jungle living on cargo boats, taking the river all the way to Brazil, where I had many adventures there. I lost my passport in the jungle, actually.
Fuck off.
Yeah, that was a disaster. And my camera.
That's Brazil, actually? Or which part of the Amazon is true?
Technically, it would have been in Peru, near Iquitos. But what happened is, I'd just gotten my Brazilian visa, which Americans have to pay $160 for. I'd gotten it in Ecuador. Because actually I took a cargo boat from Ecuador into Peru, through Colombia, into Brazil. A series of like 4 different cargo boats. But I'd just gotten my Brazilian visa, which wasn't so easy. There's interview, there's paperwork, there's bank statements and everything. And then I was probably like 50 miles, 75 kilometers or something from the Brazilian border when I lost my passport, and I had to do it all over again. And there's no embassy or consulate for America in Iquitos in the jungle, so actually I had to fly to Lima, but then they wouldn't let me fly because I didn't have a passport.
Right.
And so I called my embassy in Lima and I said, what do I do? Because they want me to have a passport to fly. And Iquitos is the largest city in the world with no road connection to the outside, so I couldn't take a bus. The only way in's on a boat or to fly. And the boat takes days, and they probably also need a passport. So the embassy said, no, just get a police statement that you lost your passport, and then they'll let you fly with that. Yeah, so I got a police letter, and I went to the airport, and they said, you can't fly with this. But finally, they let me fly. And the police statement was actually funny, too. This is a side story, but I went to the police station in Iquitos, this little Peruvian city in the jungle, and I walked into the policeman's office, and I said that I lost my passport, it fell in the river. And he looks at me, he's like, well, and I said I need a police statement so that I can leave on the plane. And he says, well, you know what, we actually don't have jurisdiction over the river, sorry. And I was like, so? He says, so that's what he says, so what you need to do is walk out of the office, turn around, come back in, and tell me that you lost it in the plaza. So I was like, really? He's like, yes. So I walked out of the office, I turned around, and I came back in. I said, hi, my name's Daniel, and I lost my passport in the plaza. He's like, oh, okay, we'll make you a statement. Yes. But I was lucky, there was no bribes, he's very professional, it was all good.
Was it the only negative experience you had?
No.
About a secret wallet now.
Yes. No, actually, the worst experience, that was, well, losing my pictures on that trip was the worst experience. But yeah, one of the worst experiences I had was I'd been living in Argentina for several months already, and I got really comfortable. I knew all the neighborhoods. I had friends. Sometimes we go to the bars, and I would save a little money on the taxi because I would walk back, but I'd done it before, and I knew it was a little bit dangerous at night in Buenos Aires. And so one night I was a little drunk, and I was walking home, but on a busy street, it just happened on that particular block, there was no one at that moment, and these two guys, drunk, drug-addicted looking, walked past me, and the moment they were like perpendicular with me, they just both turned in unison and just threw me against the wall with their shoulders. And I have a secret wallet. My only wallet was in my ankle. I had an ankle wallet. And so for 2 minutes, they're going through my pockets and they're asking me where is it?
In English or in Spanish?
No, well actually I think in like lunfardo, some sort of street Spanish. I didn't understand everything they said. And I was a little bit nervous, and I kept saying in Spanish, I said, I don't speak English. I meant to say I don't speak Spanish, but my mind flipped it. And they kept saying it's not important. And I was like, yes it is, because I can't understand what you're saying. And like, but I was saying I don't speak English, and they're like, it's not important, but I'm thinking that I'm saying I don't speak Spanish. And they keep going through my pockets, and they take my keys to my apartment. And they I can tell that they're threatening to keep my keys if I don't give them my wallet. So I have to give up my ankle wallet. And then they leave my keys, and I was like, dude, mis chaves, my keys. And he actually turned around and threw them like at me. Thankfully, because it was nighttime, and I had no way to call my landlord or anything, so I would have been sleeping on the street. But I learned from that experience. It's not enough just to hide my wallet, because if you get mugged, they know you have something. Especially, I was nicely dressed. I'd come from a bar. Obviously, I wasn't walking around with nothing. So I bought a cheap little wallet, and I filled it with some expired credit cards, old ID, and I started putting in like very low value currency bills from different countries, Nicaragua, Colombia, I don't remember, but I had
super devalued currencies. It looks like a lot.
Yeah, so there were like 30 bills in there, so it's quite a nice little stack.
Right.
And so if you opened it up, you would see some credit cards, you see an old ID, you would see a bunch of bills, and I realized from them, they wanted to get out of there as quickly as I wanted them to, because they don't want to be there if the policeman comes or something. So they wanted to be out very quickly too. So now I have this fake wallet that I carry in my pocket, and I've never been mugged since then. But if I did, you just give it up. They probably won't even look at it, but if they do, it looks legit, and then they go. And all your money is in your wallet, and my ankle wallet, which I just told everyone in the world, so no, it's okay. So that was one of the worst experiences, and I was a little bit shaken up, because during the interaction, actually, I wasn't nervous at all. Like, it was, I was even thinking maybe I could just punch these guys in the face, because they were actually quite short.
Okay.
But I couldn't see their hands. I didn't know if they had a knife or a gun, but actually I was a little bit worried that I even had that thought. My thought should have been just give them what they want. But afterwards, I was pretty shaken up for a couple of days. You get a little bit nervous, even walking during the day. It took me a while to, because the other thing is, this is off topic, but I realized when you have an experience like that, you start to second guess what you were doing. I should have done this, and you kind of have to meditate on not thinking about that situation in the past too much, about what you would have, could have, should have done.
You're on couch surfing, but you don't use couch surfing so much. Why is that? I understand that you had a legit job, a well-paid one, so you were a really good saver over the time.
I can tell you, it's the same reason I don't use hostels that much. It's been on the road for 4 years. That's living, and sharing space with people, and every single day would be impossible for me. Even at a hostel.
saying the same story, talking to the
Well, so
same
that's another topic is the emotional energy of meeting new people and telling your story for the first time over and over, and also making friends and then saying goodbye. Those two things is
keep in touch.
yeah. No, but I mean, I make some really good friends, and it's very sad sometimes when I leave, and that's one of the most difficult parts of traveling is the emotional energy of making new friends, and I actually want to make like real, honest, valuable friendships. So I put a lot of effort into making friends, and then saying goodbye after 2 weeks, after a month, after a couple months even. And but as far as the hostels and the couch surfing, hostels I almost never like unless the city is really expensive, because all I learned at a hostel is about young Germans and Swedes, you know, and French people who want to get drunk. It doesn't teach me much about the country I'm in.
Right.
Couch surfing teaches me a lot, so I really appreciate anytime I can stay, especially with a family. Not just like some young, I don't mind staying with like a college age person who hosts me, that's great. But when I can stay with like a real family and see what they're eating and what their kids do at school and what they're learning, and how good is a kid's English, like what's the programs like, what do they think about America or the rest of the world. When I can learn those things, it's very valuable for me. But there's a lot of sacrifice staying with family, or just couch surfers in general. You got to keep to their schedule. You don't want to ask too much of them. And it's really nice for me. So what I do a lot is I rent private apartments on Airbnb, and Airbnb is quite nice because if you stay for, this is another reason I often stay for like a month, because Airbnb often will give you, I mean, the owner of the apartment will often give you a big discount for a month, and sometimes a month ends up being cheaper than 2 weeks because of the discount.
Okay.
I've stayed at apartments that give you a 60% discount if you stay for a month, and that's like more than a week. A week and a half would be more than a month. So I'm like, okay, I'll just stay in Colombia for a month then. For me, it's okay. So, and it's nice to, I save a lot of money because if I have an apartment, I have a kitchen. So I cook 90% of, I only go to restaurants if I'm with friends.
Right.
And because one thing, people criticize me, but I'm not the biggest foodie in the world. I always want to try the local cuisine, but it's not so important to me to like be at fancy restaurants every night trying all the cool. And also I find the fancy restaurants aren't really local cuisine anyway, you know.
You've been on the road for 4 years. How long do you plan on staying?
Yeah, that's a good question. The story I always tell is I ask people if they saw Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's running back and forth across America. And then one day, for no reason, he just says, I'm kind of tired, I think I'll go home now. And even before I left, I told people that's when I quit, is one day I'll be in the jungle in like Indonesia, you know, fighting giant snakes or something. And I just look around, I was like, you know guys, actually I'm kind of tired. And I put down the snake, put down the machete, and just walk home. So I am getting tired because I feel your life comes in chapters, and this travel is just one chapter. It's not my whole life. And the next chapter I hope will be a community, a home, a family, a favorite cafe, a favorite restaurant, some neighborhood connections, friendships that I don't have to say goodbye every 2 months.
Right.
So I want that chapter, and I can feel it kind of pulling me more and more every month. So I'm thinking I will finish. And the other situation is money. I probably, unless I start doing more hostels and really get budget conscious, I probably have about 2 years of travel money left, which I think is about perfect. I think I'll finish in a year and a half.
Okay.
That's my feeling at the moment.
Right. Do you have like a daily budgeting?
Yes.
So can you talk a little, if it's not secret,
No.
about your finances? Because most people struggle starting. Everybody dreams about traveling around the world. Even they don't speak English. They just, I want to travel around the world.
Yes.
Most of them say either that they don't have time or they don't have the money.
Yes.
You've been on the road for 4 fucking years. It's not a 2 week long Phuket getaway just for honeymoon.
Yes.
What is your advice? How to get to the point, and can you give some numbers?
Yes. Also, I should tell you, I have a website,
Self-promotion is more.
No, it's actually just for my parents. But and for me, it's kind of for my own memories.
Blogging, sort of, or
It's some pictures of places I've been that I like memories. But it's danfromindiana.com. But the reason I bring it up is there's a page there that says travel stats, and I mark my average spending in every country I've been, how much I spend on housing there every night, and my average on food every day.
Sweet.
And for every country. And like I just show you.
The new Big Mac Index, right?
Yeah, well, I'm very because part of my job in New York was kind of like financial recording, you know, for a city. So I keep track of all my spending every day. So actually, the 2,000, 3,000 here, I'll put that under food. And
can you show the screen to the
yeah, I don't know if you can see, but I have this. Oops.
No,
yeah.
it's good anyways.
Yeah.
The export.
But I have this app where I can keep track of my spending. It's just add some spending.
Okay.
So I'm very I count pennies, right? And then I also have a graph of because this is how I saved money. When I saved in money back home before I left, I said, okay, if I can put $200 this month into my saving account, I would put $200 for that month. And then next month I say, okay, Daniel, do better. Do 220. You know, next month, do whatever. And I learned to try to compete against yourself. So I was competing against last month's numbers. Can I do better for say? Can I do one less margarita this month? And one less margarita will help me beat last month.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing here. I put how much I spend every. I do it by month. So I see how much did I spend on food last month? Can I do better this month? So having that competition with yourself, being aware of how much you're actually spending, I mean, that's important. Don't hang out with the vacationers who are doing 2 weeks in Phuket because they don't care how much they spend. They're on vacation.
Right.
And
they just want to go full throttle.
And if I meet them and they're like, oh, we're on vacation for 2 weeks, you want to come with us? I'm like, I do, but I know that your budget expectations are different than mine. I cook rice at home. The other advantages of staying for a month is that you can buy bulk. So I can buy a giant bag of rice that lasts for a month. And I got to tell you, like I can get my. You asked about numbers. I'd have to look at my website to see specifically, but I think I average around maybe $8 a day on food in some countries, but in others I get down as low as $4 or $5 per day, which to me sounds actually still like a lot because I could go lower. Like I could go lower, but I save money eating at home, and then when I do meet friends, I don't care so much when I'm at the restaurant, you know, because I'm like I've been eating, you know, rice and vegetables for 4 days now. I'm with friends at a restaurant. It doesn't matter what I do here. So it averages. I'm going to guess about $8 a day for the whole trip. I can also tell you that I have how much I've been averaging for everything. This is travel. This is museums. This is tours. This is houses.
Everything,
It's everything. I think at the moment, it's on my website, but I think at the moment I've been averaging $46 a day.
$46.
Yeah, my goal is to get that down to like 42.
Okay.
But yes, that's my average is $46 per day.
Awesome.
And that includes things, you know, you're on the road for 4 days, so your clothes start to like deteriorate. so there's moments I'm like, okay, it's time to go to the local market, the bazaar, and buy some new.
I was just thinking of this today. Is bazaar a word in English as well?
Bazaar, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it refers.
Is that double A-R?
Yes, that is British, but yes. Yes, the same spelling. Although it normally implies this type of bazaar, like in Central America. You wouldn't necessarily find
Central Asia.
Or Central Asia. Yeah, sorry, I'm still stuck in the wrong continent. But yes, we do have the word in English.
You used to have a condo life. Everything was fucking solid, planned even. Why people in the same situation should still consider traveling? Not just the one who are depressed, who are desperate on inspiration, who just want to get the fuck out of their garbage situation.
Yes.
What about the people who actually do have a condo life, but they also have this unexplored terrible bug in their mind?
Yeah. Well, if they have that bug, then I think they should explore it. But I'm not the type of person, and I meet these type of people. But I'm not the type of person who says everyone needs to travel. My philosophy is everyone needs to find what makes them happy. And if starting a family when you're young and having some stability and building a productive life in your hometown is the thing that you know will make you happy, then 100% you need to do that. Because I meet travelers who kind of don't know what they should be doing in their life, and people have said you should go travel, and they go travel and they hate it. And I kind of know, like I would have known before they left that you will not like this as much as you think you know. So everyone needs to find what makes them happy. But if travel is one of the things that you think would make you happy, even if it's just a short travel, a month or 2 months, because I can tell you, your perspective changes. A vacation is just a vacation. You still have this idea that you're coming back after 2 weeks. But a long-term travel, there's this threshold that you reach when you start to realize you are free. You know, and maybe you're going to go back. Like maybe, and I don't know what that number is, and it's probably different for everyone, but maybe 3 months is enough. Maybe after a month, because also most people will get tired way before I get tired. So maybe 3 months is enough. For after a month and a half or 2 months, you feel that moment of freedom, and then you start to feel like, well, actually I felt it and I'm ready to go back home. And that number can differ for everyone, but if they have that bug, then I would make a plan, set some goals to actually reach that plan, achieve those goals every month, and it can be as little as $50 a month. Within 5 years, you'll be able to go somewhere for a while. I don't know, Europe, but I know in America a big problem is it is hard to get time off from your employer. So
it's either you quit or you're stuck.
For Americans, for many Americans, it's either you're lucky if they'll let you go for 2 weeks. I mean, you have 2 weeks maybe vacation, but you're lucky if they let you take it consecutive. I think in Europe the situation's a little bit better, but if you have the opportunity, if you're between jobs, 3 months is, I think, great.
Awesome. I started this question to close it up and give the opportunity to the speaker to have like a punchline. What's the value? What in your life you want to pass on? You wanna. Everybody wants to make the world better. Even Warren Buffett, who just wants to stack up on money. And lately, his hobby is to put his face on Fanta and Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the impact you want to have on the world? Value on the world.
Yeah. So
how do you see yourself adding value?
That's a good question. I stayed with a couchsurfing family in Japan, and they had children, and they told me the reason that we host couchsurfers is so that our children grow up knowing a little bit more about the world, because they said, when we grew up in Japan, we never met foreigners, and we just had these kind of strange ideas about the outside world. And it made me realize, because I grew up in a farming community in Indiana, and when I grew up, I had these strange ideas about the world that were completely wrong, and I'd never met a foreigner until I was 16 or 17. And I wonder, and I really give this foreigner a lot of, he was from a German exchange student, I give him a lot of credit. I don't know what my life would be like if I had not met him at 16 or 17. He was at my high school. But then I think, what if my family had been hosting couchsurfers, travelers, when I was 10, 11, and international people and cultures and different languages and different ideas were just a normal part of my life? I think it'd be very positive. So if I can be that person who gives someone a little bit of inspiration, or I feel a little bit like maybe it's a responsibility that I'm an ambassador to America. So because I know that Americans have a bad stereotype sometimes. So if I can give a positive face to America, and then those people remember, oh, we met him, because people, they meet one Brazilian and then they make their entire idea about what Brazilians
are.
Exactly. So I might be, if I'm traveling through some small village in Kazakhstan, I might be the only American some of these people ever meet.
Right.
And if I can be a good representation of America, that would make me happy.
Awesome. Daniel, can we repeat your website, please?
Yes, it's Dan from Indiana. I'm Dan. I'm Dan. I'm from Indiana, and my website is Dan from Indiana. My Instagram is also Dan from Indiana.
But guys, it's all down in the description. If you chose to subscribe for his channel, why wouldn't you do it to mine? You already know the drill. Don't forget to subscribe also for the YouTube channel where I share more videos like this, talks like this, and for Facebook obviously for the everyday content engagement with you guys. Daniel, thank you so much for the
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Where next?
Uzbekistan.
When are you going?
Tomorrow.
Taking no days off, guys. Guys, thanks for staying tuned. You already know you, with a little bit of me, are shaping society. Bye.